You might already know plenty about the DPRK's capital, Pyongyang. You might even know a fair amount about some of the other cities in the country, from Kaesong in the south to Cheongjin in the north. What you likely know less about is the detail and history of the intricate jigsaw which makes up modern Korea, with the country carved up into provinces, 9 of which are governed by the DPRK. Further still, there are exceptions to this rule. Special economic zones, directly governed cities, special cities, and so much more besides. Every province is different. A unique history, culture, industry, all coming together in a patchwork that forms the modern, democratic People's Republic of Korea. For decades, the Korean peninsula has been divided into various provinces. As with most parts of the world, regional government allowed early kingdoms to more effectively govern their territory. This practice stretches back centuries, so a millennia ago seems a fair place to start. In the 11th century, the Goryeo dynasty, which ruled over most of the peninsula, reorganised their mishmash of provinces into 5 new provinces, 2 frontier districts, and a special region surrounding the capital. The capital of Goryeo at the time was the city of Kaesong, and the surrounding region was designated Gyeonggi. The 5 regions designated as provinces, or do, were Jeollado, Gyeongsang-do, Yanggwang-do, Gyeoju-do, and Sohae-do, whilst the northern region and eastern coastline were designated as frontier districts, or gye. These were Pukgye and Donggye respectively. It's here that we see the first emergence of what would later become modern provinces. The next reshuffle took place under the Joseon dynasty. This change in the provincial system laid the groundwork for the modern map, and, for the first time, some familiar names popped up. This redrawing took place in 1413 and resulted in 8 provinces. The northern part of Korea was dominated by 2 huge provinces. Hamgyong-do stretched from the northeastern border between Joseon and Manchuria over the Nangnim Mountains down to the westernmost point of the East Sea. Pyongan-do ran from the Amnok River border in the north down to the mouth of the Taedong River, encompassing the future capital, Pyongyang. The rest of the east coast was governed by Kangwon-do, responsible for administering the mountainous central region of the peninsula, and Gyeongsang-do, which administered the southeastern seaboard. The rest of the west coast was split between 4 provinces. The northernmost was Hwanghae-do. Further south, the provinces of Gyeonggi-do, Chungcheong-do, and Jeollado made up the rest of the Joseon dynasty's provincial map. The island of Jeju was governed under Chola during this period. This system remained almost perfectly intact, apart from in 1895 when the map was shattered into 23 districts, only for the decision to be reversed a year later. 1897 saw the collapse of the Joseon dynasty, superseded by the Korean Empire. Subsequently, the borders changed once again. Pyongan, Hamgyong, Chungcheong, Gyeongsang, and Chola were split in half, each forming a northern and southern province. These provinces would remain in place through the Japanese occupation until the division of Korea in 1945. Today, the Korean peninsula north of the DMZ is divided into 9 provinces: North Pyongan, South Pyongan, Jagang, Yangang, North Hamgyong, South Hamgyong, Kangwon, North Hwanghae, and South Hwanghae. So, now that's out of the way, let's take a look at the provinces of the DPRK. South Pyongan Province, or Pyongan-namdo, sits just north of the capital, Pyongyang, and encompasses a large swath of flat land on the western side of the DPRK. The name Pyongan derives from centuries ago, when the two largest cities in Pyongan province were Pyongyang and Anju. In 1896, South Pyongan was created after the division of Pyongan province into North and South. Until 1946, the city of Pyongyang was still part of South Pyongan, serving as a regional capital. However, it was separated from the province in 1946 to become a directly governed city, a sign of its inevitable importance to the soon-to-be-established DPRK. The modern-day province of South Pyongan has 5 cities. They are Anju, Kaechon, Suncheon, Tokcheon, and Pyeongseong. Also Nampo, sort of, but we'll get to that. Pyeongseong is the seat of the provincial government and was founded in 1969. Located just outside of Pyongyang, the city sits just 30 kilometers north of the capital city and has a mixed industry of agriculture and light industry. 28% of the land in Pyeongseong is dedicated to agriculture, and you can see a breakdown of that here. The province overall is focused primarily on agriculture and mining. Much of the agriculture in the eastern half of the province is field farming, whilst the west is more paddy field oriented. There are also substantial mining operations in the province, as well as a forestry industry, with 70% of the province being dominated by thick forests. North Pyongan province, or Pyongan-bukdo, sits just south of the Korean-Chinese border along the Amnok River. As previously mentioned, Pyongan province was split in 1896 to form North and South Pyongan. This wasn't the end of the border trimming for North Pyongan, however. In 1949, neighbouring Chagang province was established, taking 6 counties from North Pyongan, finally leaving the province in its current form. North Pyongan is home to 3 cities, Cheongju, Kusong, and Sinuiju. The final city on this list, Sinuiju, is the provincial capital and home to the busiest overland border crossing between the DPRK and China. The provincial capital is an important centre for light industry, although the bulk of its economy is built on its strategic location on the Amnok River border, allowing it to grow into a hub for international trade. The economy of the wider province is similar to its southern neighbour. Much of the flatland is devoted to agriculture, whilst the heavily forested regions are often devoted to forestry and other organic industries. Some coastal counties also produce salt, reeds, fish, and other coastal products. The city of Cheongju is locally famed for its chestnuts. North Hwanghae, or Hwanghae-bukdo, is bordered to the north by Pyongyang, and to the south by the Inter-Korean Demilitarized Zone. Created during a reshuffle in 1954, it was previously part of the larger Hwanghae province, before being split into north and south. Prior to 1954, Hwanghae province had existed since around 1395, and was named after the 2 principal cities, Hwangju and Haeju. Today, the province houses 2 cities, Seongnim and Sariwon, the latter of which is the provincial seat of government. You can learn more about Sariwon in particular in this episode of my series DPRK Cities. Since the city of Seongnim is located on the Taedong River, it has grown into a major industrial centre and port, and is part of the Pyongyang Industrial Zone, which incorporates many small industrial towns along the Taedonggang estuary. However, most of the province is dedicated to agriculture, with the exception of some of the more mountainous regions in the north, where agriculture is limited to paddy farming, and industry plays a more important role. South Hwanghae, or Hwanghae-namdo, was formed in 1954 as mentioned previously, when Hwanghae was divided. The province is bordered by its provincial twin to the east and the West Sea of Korea. The province is home to only one city, Haeju, which also serves as the provincial capital. After the liberation of the country in 1945, Haeju became a city, becoming the capital of South Hwanghae in 1954. As a result of its location on the west coast, Haeju quickly developed into a large-scale international port, which has allowed the city to become a hub for light and heavy industry, as well as for fishing and shipbuilding. The bulk of industry in the wider province is agriculture-based. South Hwanghae makes up one of the most fertile regions in the DPRK, and as a result, much of the land is devoted to farming and crop cultivation. Special mention goes to Gwail County, which literally translates to fruit, known for its fruit production. Kangwon is one of the most intriguing of the DPRK's provinces, since, unlike the others, when the peninsula was divided in 1945, it could not be easily placed under the governance of either the north or south, and as a result, it became the only divided province in Korea. The northern Kangwon was expanded on September 5, 1946, when Wonsan, Anbyeon, and Muncheon moved from South Hamgyong province to Kangwon. Of these three additions, two of them, Muncheon and Wonsan, became the only two cities in the northern Kangwon province. The provincial capital is Wonsan, formerly a major port on the East Sea and now a hub for tourism. You can find out more about Wonsan in greater detail in this episode of DPRK Cities. As with many of these more southern provinces, agriculture is a major industry, since the area is not too dominated by mountains. Logging is also a major industry here. Whilst lowlands may be dedicated to farming, the thick forests which coat the more mountainous parts of Kangwon mean forestry is an important part of the economy, along with mining. Well, we've covered the DPRK's western provinces, from North Pyongan on the Chinese border to South Hwanghae on the southern coast. We've also covered Kangwon, the country's only divided province, but still relatively low-lying. In part 2, we'll cover some of the more rugged, mountainous northern provinces, from North Hamgyong, dominated by the Nangnim Mountains, to Nyangan, home of the legendary Mount Paektu, and some of the most ideologically important spots in the country. We'll also cover the wide array of special cities, economic zones, and other oddities found across the country, so make sure to check out the second part of DPRK Provinces Explained.